Recording. Okay. So, hi.
Hi.
So right now we have Joacim from Falun. Okay. So, can I get you to introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name is Joacim Svensson. I am 24 years old. I work as a player development coach for IBF Falun's youth section called IBF Falun Utveckling. In Swedish, that means IBF Falun Development. So we work in age groups from 16 to 22 players born, and I have been doing so for almost 6 years now. I've been the responsible for the men's section for almost 2 years, the responsible of all the entire youth section in that development club. And I've coached for, I think it's 8 years now, so 6 years in Falun and 2 years before in my old hometown in Sweden.
Good. So, as the youth development coach, how is it like teaching the what kind of specialties do you teach? Because you're teaching the 16 to 22. So what kind of specialties do you focus on this particular age group?
We focus a lot on gameplay, I would say, because in Sweden we have in Falun we have two different. Is it gymnasium? When they're not in high, I think they are above high school. Do you say gymnasium here? Mm-hmm. Yep. We have two floorball gymnasiums, and there they can practice their technical skills mostly, and then during evening club time, club training, we usually focus a lot on gameplay. We also focus on individual skills, but we mostly focus on team gameplay and the structure of the team and how you approach a game and how you basically win more games and develop yourself as an individual. So that's basically how we work. We work with an age structure where we have, or I would say level structure, where we have 4 different levels in the men's section, where we have level 4 to level 1, and the players that we think have come farthest in their individual development are in the level 1, and then going down to level 2, level 3, level 4, and then they play games in different divisions. So, for example, the players that are in level 1 played this year in the 2nd division in Sweden, and some of them played in the highest junior division team also. So we have coaches for each level, and I was responsible as a coach for level 2. But I'm responsible for the whole section to see that we follow what we are planning to do, that every individual gets the same opportunity, every individual takes steps along the way to become better. That's my responsibility to look into that every coach follows it, and every player gets the same chance basically.
And when you say things like focus on the team play, and how to approach the game. So how do you teach kids or the players of the age game sense?
Do you mean kids as in kids, or do you mean the players I have?
The players you have. The players you have.
Basically, we have a system where we play. The teams in our development, they play kind of the same. We let the coaches for each individual team have their small pointers, I would say, but basically we play the same system. So we try to develop that and try to make the players individually better in that system, and also train them on different systems when playing different opponents, because in Sweden a lot of teams play different kind of defenses and offenses. So basically we try to develop that and how to counter it. If we're playing against a defensively 2-2-1, we try to develop I would say counter attacks against that kind of defensive structure. And we also, if a team plays 2-1-2 with a center and 2 forwards, we try to develop counterattacks for also that system, like within our own teams, individual teams, as a coach. And and basically we coach them during the division games, and also that's like where our performances are rated, because during practices we never get to see how the players develop. It's just during games that we can have like a, I would say, I don't know if you can say a benchmark of how good they are, but that basically is. So in divisions we can see how good the players are basically, and then we try to develop then, okay, next game, and we come up against a lot of different opponents, so we have to like be prepared to play against any type of player, any type of system, because in Sweden we have a lot of different teams, as I said. So that's basically it.
Yeah. So when you say system, so how is it like because there are multiple coaches, and then how is it like that from the club structure? Is there like a director at the top who decides what systems you all play, or how, or do everyone come together?
We work mostly with that. We also work with the high school, with the floorball gymnasiums, with their coach, and their coaches are very good. Most of them are elite players or was elite players in Sweden. So we talk a lot with them, and I'm like the director, I would say, for the men's section. But we usually come together, like all the coaches, and discuss before a season, or have like a, I would say it's a culture in Falun to play the way we do. So when you come in as a new coach, you kind of get used to that system quite well and quite easy, I would say. And then we have, as I said, the cooperation with the floorball gymnasiums. So basically we meet up, we have a lot of different like persons looking into our systems and how to develop them. But it's my responsibility to get the coaches or get the teams to play in that way. So a lot of different opinions, but it's my job to like bring the ideas to the court.
Yeah, because it's like there are so many different coaches who have so many different ways of doing these things. And then, could you also help elaborate what are the two gymnasiums that you mentioned? Because are they like the ones that at the younger level kind of the players they come up from, or how do they
the different gymnasiums are, they have two different structures. One of them is from the Swedish Federation, so they only take in 7 players a year and a goalie. And the other floorball gymnasium is a free school in Sweden, so they take in every player basically who wants to go there gets in. So they have, I think they have now 120 players just in that gymnasium, 3 different age groups. So we work with them a lot, and Can you repeat the question?
So because we just want to, because from our side, we kind of have like a youth development training center kind of thing. So the association runs, in a way, kind of like the second gymnasium that you mentioned, where we take in everyone, and then they are like a few different age groups, like the under 12, under 13s, under 15s, 17s. So, and then and then it's from there. Then we have the national team squad, and then on our side we also have all the other academies like Star, Youth Floorball Academy, and the rest. So just kind of understand how, and then I just want to understand how is it different from the Swedish?
It's different in that way, because in Sweden we have, if you want to play in another club, you can do so. You don't have to play in Falun if you're going to school in Falun. You can play in clubs, because we are not the only club in Falun. We have also, I think we have maybe 3 or 4 that has youth sections. So you don't have to play with us, but most of the players do, because most of the players that play in the floorball gymnasiums comes from outside of Falun. They move to Falun just to that specific floorball gymnasium to become better. Because Falun is a very big thing in Sweden, and you want to represent the club, so most of the players play for us. But you don't have to play for Falun. You can play for the other local clubs, or you can play from your home club, because most of the players are also from the same region. So they travel by bus or train to every training, basically 1 hour to school and then home 1 hour, and then they train with their like local team there. So that's like how it works in Falun. I don't know how it works in different parts of Sweden. I think most of the clubs have the floorball gymnasium, and then you play for a club. You can't play for another club. You just have like that one club you play for. But that is different from, I would say, here, because I know that Star Floorball has like classes, right?
Yeah.
We don't have that kind of structure in Sweden. You get to play in school. You don't play floorball in that kind of sense, and you don't play we don't have academies in that sense. We just have clubs that runs on a different base. So I would say like our youth section is, if you look at the kids, maybe it's not the best in Sweden, because we are looking to get more players to play rather than being precise and narrow it down. So I think we have in our like kids section, ranging from age 15 to basically players that are 6 or 7 years old. I think we have about 500. So we try to be larger in that sense, and then when they come up to like our youth section and the development, where the development really starts, we like narrow it down a bit. So I think we have 120 players right now in the youth development section, because most of them, when they come through like the whole system, it narrows down, and some of them, they don't want to, how do you say it? They are not as ambitious as anyone else, so they maybe go to another local club that doesn't have the same ambitions and everything, because most of them that play in our development section they want to be the best they can be.
Yep.
Most of them. So that's how it works in Sweden, in our club.
Right.
So that differs from here, I would say.
Yeah, and from there, okay, then how do you, okay, so given two particular choices, physicality, so like the speed, power, everything, and game sense, how do you rate, like, which is more important, or in terms of percentage?
Yeah, tough question. I would say it's
Or skills, yeah. Physicality
Yeah.
and skills, how do you?
Yeah, it's a very tough question, like, to decide, but I would say that if I had two players that had this, I don't know, it's a
It's
very
tough,
tough
it's
question, because if I can say that if I had two players that had the same skills but not the same physical level, I would choose the one with the better physical, obviously. But the same goes on the other end. If I had two players that had the same physical but not the same skill level, I would choose the one with skill. But basically, if you just ask me, I would say that skills are more important up to a certain level. And when you get to like Sweden's third highest division and second and first, I would say you need a lot more physical abilities to like counter your own skill ability, because if you don't have the physical part, I think you're not able to play in the highest divisions in Sweden, because you need the physical part. But if you're gonna play at a youth section, I would say that skills are basically more important in the start, but you need the physicality as well. And I think that it's easier to train up your physicality than it is training your skills. So I would say skills are more important, but I would say that physicality is the thing that players should work most on. So it's tough to say what percentage. Maybe 60-40 to skills, I would say.
Okay, then, but that also comes back down to how much do the players in your age group train? Like, how many days a week? How many hours a week?
They train basically 3 nights a week with the club, and then they have 2 to 3 different floorball training sessions with their gymnasium. So basically they train for, maybe they have during a week, if they are at the highest level in our youth section, they can train basically 6 to 7 floorball training sessions. And then usually, if they are that good and they are ambitious, they usually have like a separate physical individual training where they train themselves. They go to the gym and so basically the best players in our club or section, I would say, have about 8 like training sessions,
Wow.
including floorball and gym during a week.
Right. And so that means the physical part they will do it in their own that gym time, and they are at their own private time.
Yeah.
So for your side, you will just do the floorball stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We mainly focus on the floorball stuff, and then maybe we have like physical trainings, but then we include floorball. So we like create different sessions where they get to run a lot, or they can work on because it's physical to play floorball in Sweden, especially during like defense. So we play a lot of like dual play and something like that. So but not we don't work on like the physical training during our own floorball session, because we have, I think in Sweden we have so little time with them, but we have like 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
But a training session is 1 hour to 1 hour and a half, I would say. So that's basically like how much time we have. So we have like 4 hours with them every week, and we don't have the time to like work on their own physicality. They need to work that on their own. So that's like where you can see, okay, this guy has this ambition level. You can see that based some, I would say, on their physicality. If they train like outside of our own trainings, that's usually a good benchmark for seeing how ambitious they are. And yeah, basically you can see if it took and they had like a Cooper test or a beep test.
Yeah.
You usually use a beep test in Sweden. You could see that the level 1 players would perform a lot better than the level 4.
Yeah.
Even if they are the same age, because you can see that they are ambitious enough to train on their own every time and every day. So I would say that yeah, we don't have as much time. So they work mostly on their physical training by themselves, basically.
Yeah. And so like those ambitious players, then do you find them juggle their time? How do you how do they prioritize their time? Because like you said, you only have this much time with them. So and then there's also all the floorball outside.
Yeah.
So how do the players juggle between all the different priorities in their life from your point of view?
Yeah, I would say that if they are really ambitious, I would say school is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And that is also like one thing that the club takes very big responsibility in, that school comes first. So grades and stuff are important. So we have players that missed training sessions and games just because they had to study, and we approve that. We think that school is very important, that you get a grade or a good grade. So I would say that comes first if you're a student, and some of them work if they are older enough, so they have quit school. I would say work comes first also, but during like their free time, they have trainings with us, and most of the guys usually go. Maybe they're training with us for about 1 hour and a half, and then they get like a quick snack, and then they go to the gym afterwards. Depending on what type of practice we had. Maybe we had a calmer practice, then they usually go up to the gym and do something else, like strong exercise for the body, like lifting heavy weights.
No.
Mostly, so they basically do like 2 training sessions like each day when we have a training. Some of them, not everyone. But some of the more ambitious players, especially if you play in level 1, which is they played, like I said, last year in the 2nd division in Sweden, and then you need to train very, very hard.
Yeah, yeah, and to that, right? How is this? So, based on what you've seen in Sweden, and then and what you have seen outside of Sweden, because European floorball is really another level different from the rest of the world. So how do you think the rest of the world can do so that we can at least try? Because it has always been, the rest of the world is like just when we go to the World Floorball Championship, we're always at best 11, 12. So what do you think we can do to bridge the gap so that we can finally break into like the top 8?
I think like one key part is getting more players to play floorball, because in Sweden we have 120,000 players, so
Wow.
it's not that it's not that surprising that we get the best players, because we have it's like the natural selection. Okay, if you have 120,000 players, of course you're gonna get the best players in the end. But I think that first you need more players in like every country that have ambitions to be good in floorball, I would say, and then work on your individual skills in a team, I would say, because you can see that I was here commentating on the All-Star game, and you can see the difference in the because all of them were European in the All-Star team, and you can see the different skill level. You can see that some of the guys in Orion were really good individually on the ball, or in they can shoot, they can pass, but you could see that like when a defender like deked another of the All-Star forwards, then the second pass or
Yes.
transitions, you can see that is where they're like lacking the best decision or best pass or something like that. So the like momentum in the transition maybe it's not that good as the All-Star team. So that is like one sense that I like reflected on during the All-Star game, that you could see that the All-Star team was like always taking not always, but most of the time taking the right decisions at the right time.
Yeah.
And you can see that the Orion team was, and now they were a lot. They were tired when because they had to focus on defend a lot. So when they retrieved the ball, they were tired. But you could see that they had some good intentions as well. But you could see that the All-Star team were like, when they got the ball, they already had the second pass in mind, and I thought that was a difference to the Orion team, I would say. But I think that comes from like I don't know how many training sessions you usually have here in Singapore, but I would say that because I spoke with Felix Lamber and William Lind from Pixbo, and they said that they have been training like I just described, like 5 to 6 floorball sessions, like from when they were 6 years old.
Wow.
So I mean, it's like a thing where you need to play a lot of floorball. You need to have time on the court. You need to watch different games. You need to watch players. I mean, if you are a young kid in Falun, I mean, you could just go to the arena that's like 15 minutes from your home, and you can see the best players in the world. So I mean, you can see some different details. You can see them live. You can talk with them. You can ask them questions. So that's basically. I think that one reason is that I think you need to develop is to get players to be good so they can come to Europe and play. I think that is like one key part also, because I could see in the Orion game that some of the players, as I said, were individually very, very good. So I don't think they would. I think they would be able to play in Europe. Maybe not the highest league in Sweden, but I would definitely say they could play in. Some of them could play in the 3rd division, and I mean that is like, if you get players to play in Europe and have different experiences and get them to be a star, I would say, because if someone moved to Europe, I would think floorball players in Singapore would talk about them. He went to Europe, and in that sense, he's like a star over there. I would say that is like to get role models for the younger kids, so you get more kids looking at good players, and more like players seeing different types of European playing styles. I would say that is like one big experience for them. And then, as I said, play a lot of floorball. You need to play and have time on the court to be good. I know that like we have one player in Sweden, in our club in Sweden, that is like he's 13 years old. He spends his every waking hour inside the arena.
Wow.
If he's not in school, he's at the arena, and it's basically because we have trainings like during every night from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. So there's no time for him to be on the court, but he's on the side of the court, just doing some drills for himself or something like that, or speak to players and all of that. So he's very ambitious. And I think you need that drive, that time on the court. So that's basically the most important key, I would say, to become better. Spend time on the court.
And also, I was talking to the Nokians the other day, and they did mention that a lot of Finnish players do go to the Swedish league to go and play.
Yeah.
So how much do you think that's a factor? Because and I guess that's a very good part about the SSL is that a lot of good players really want to go there and play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how much do you think that's a factor in that? That's why Sweden is still number one, and it's number one for quite a while already. And from the last few WO champions, even the men's and women's, they are still quite ahead of everyone. So what other than players going to SSL and play, what are the other things that you think makes Swedish floorball number one?
I think it's obviously, as I said, but I think if you look at how many different clubs we have, and how many different players we have, as I said, we have 120,000 players, and that basically comes down to, okay, we have a lot. I think we have, last time I seen the numbers, I think it was 950 different clubs, and every club has like different youth sections, different men's team, different women's team, and that comes down to, because every club pays us a fee to the federation. So the federation of Sweden is, I don't know how many like different people we have employed, but I think there are about like 30 people that works full time for the Swedish federation. So that is like one key part that we also can be good, because we get the right preparations. The players don't have to pay anything when they go to nationals and world championships and all that. They don't have to pay. They get if you have to take some time off from your job, you get like a I don't know the word for it, but they get paid from the federation if they can't basically do their own work, because most of the players work on the side of floorball in Sweden. So I think that's like one key part. We have very good I don't know, I can find the word for it, possibilities. And then, as I said, I think because we had so much success in the early days of floorball, we kind of made the, because I mean the sport was kind of invented in Sweden, I think, during the early like 70s and 80s. And basically, one key part in that was that we got to decide like this is how we're gonna play floorball. So that is one key part. I think that Sweden is one of the best teams. It's like culture. Everyone has sometimes in their life played floorball, because you play it outside in school, or you play it inside in school, or you play it outside with your friends. Like, I think a lot of people has some sort of reference to floorball in Sweden. So that's basically our culture, and that as I said, we like developed the system of this is how we're gonna play, and we got early on, the younger kids got role models. If you just ask the Swedish national team player, they can name a player like from before that they looked up to, and if you ask their player, they had a player they looked up on, and so on and so on. So it's like a bigger. We have played longer, basically.
The history is there, and it's more established. And but a little bit more about another kind of left or right kind of question. When dealing with the youth in trainings, right, how do you balance seriousness and fun?
Tough question as well. I usually like to, most of the time, I always use if we do a drill, I most of the time use a competitive like twist on it, so the players always compete against each other or against themselves, just to trigger that, because basically I think it's more that more people in general find it hard to lose, so you don't wanna have that feeling of losing. So basically to get them to try harder during practices, I always tell them, okay, the loser has to do this they get to do 20 push-ups or something like that. And most of the players, they don't want to do their physical training, so they go, okay, I'm going to try even harder to beat the other team. So that is usually like a competitive thing I use during practices, and that I think is like they like it fun to compete, especially if they win. They find it funny, but I think you need to have that fun like the base of every like drill or training session should be that it's fun. So you have to really think as a trainer in, okay, how do I make this fun? But then I think if you noticed or you know that, okay, this drill is not fun, I think you should talk to the players and say, okay, I know that this drill maybe is not the funniest, but it's gonna be the drill that gives us the next win in the next game, or some that kind of some reason. So talk with the players to get them to know how you think during drills. I think the relationship between a coach and players are really important in that sense. So that you can use your own personality and talk with them to basically say, okay, now we're gonna do something that is maybe you don't find it so funny, but it's gonna be very, very good for you. Then most of the players accept that, and I think that is like one key part. And then, as I said, a lot of competitions between the like individually or teams, because I find it that most of the teams that I had, they are triggered by that. They like to compete against each other, and if you have a team that's comfortable with each other, that is one thing that makes the most practices fun. So I would say a competitive twist to it, so that they can basically feel the feeling of winning, I would say.
Then when you talk about drills and all that, how do you balance how do you balance the repetitiveness, and how do you introduce like the variety of skills, and which do you think is better, by them learning more things, or do you think that drilling into them through repetition?
It depends on what team. If they are younger, say that they are 16 to 18 maybe, you don't use repetitiveness as much, because they are in a like age where they like to try different things. I think it's important to tell them that a mistake is okay, especially during games. You can try something, because if you're playing in the under 16 in Sweden, I mean, it's not a championship. You can lose a game based on a mistake. I mean, that's fine. But you can try to be creative, and you can try to develop your own skills. So I think it's important to tell the players to be creative in that sense. But in like the older groups or older players, I would say that repetitiveness is very good. Like usually I work with repetitiveness in drills, just to get a good flow during a practice, because I always use names for my drills. So when I have done a drill with one team, I just tell them, okay, this one is named, I have a drill that's called the Spaniard. So I just say to my team, okay, now we're gonna do the Spaniard, and then I don't need time to like draw it on a board or something, because everyone knows, okay, this is this drill, and then I can solely just focus on the player's individual performance during that drill. So that is like one key thing. And if you look at like the offense and defense, my own personal experience as a coach, I always want to have the players so in defense they don't have to make a decision. They should just know in the like back of their head what they're gonna do in certain situations. So if the ball goes to that corner, if the ball goes up there, or they go down there, they should just know what they are gonna do, because I don't want them to have decision making in the process while they're defending. It should just be
This thing before we do
I use a lot of repetitiveness in the defensive actions, I would say. But in the offense we just have like, okay, we're gonna do this, we want to do this, but then it's their own creativity that like that wins games for us. So I'm not gonna teach a player how to go from the corner and then deke someone and put it up in the first corner. I'm not gonna teach someone that. They can do that, but I'm not gonna teach them that. I'm just gonna teach them, okay, how do we get the ball to the corner? And then from the corner it's up to the player. Okay, now decide what you're gonna do, and some kind of structure. If the ball goes to the corner and one player goes there, the other player goes here, and that kind of structure I work on. But I'm not gonna teach them how to put the ball in the net. Basically, I'm just gonna teach them, okay, how do you gonna get there, and then it's up to each individual player to get
to
there,
decide what to do in that particular situation.
Yeah.
And how to arrive, how do the teams move into.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and that creates a lot of creative players, I would say. And I think that is also, if you look in Sweden, most of the players are a lot offensively. They are better at the offense than defense, I would say, in Sweden. If you look at the national team also, you have a lot of players that are good on the offense. So I think most of the coaches in Sweden have that kind of sense where they want to have a clear like picture of how they want to defend. But when it comes to the offense, they let the creative players do what they want, basically. So that's like one thing I use. So a lot of repetitiveness in the defense and how you defend, basically, against different structures, or if the ball comes there, so they don't have to make a decision. Because I always said that if you can eliminate decisions, you eliminate time. Because if a player has to decide every time, it's gonna take time.
Yeah.
So they need to have a good, clear picture in their own head what we want to do and where we're gonna win the ball, basically, and how we win the ball.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, it's up to their own creativity to get the ball into the net.
Yeah. So like things for like so for the younger kids, it's all about getting their creativity. So that's where you probably teach them techniques and tactics.
Yeah.
And then skills wise, okay, so techniques and tactics, which one do you think would be more important as like for the kids? So that will be tactics, right? Yeah, tactics will be how to play in the various different variations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the under 12 kids, how do you think would be a good way to teach them tactics?
I would say that for younger kids, I would say that the technique is more important. To have a good base. I would say so if you have a good base to stand on, if you have a good technique, you can shoot, you can pass. Then it comes down to, okay, who understands the tactics best?
Yes,
because then it comes down to the individual, how they see the game, and basically, and that's just very hard to teach someone, like how they see the game. I know, if I can do a reference to football, I know that especially like Kevin De Bruyne is very good at this, like scanning.
Yes.
Every time before he gets the ball, you can see he scans like 5 times. He looks, okay, there I look now, and then he looks at where is his players before he receives the pass. And I think if you have good technique, then you can focus on the tactics, and that makes you to have a good understanding of the game, and you can use your technique in that sense. So I think technique is like the biggest. You need to have good technique to be a good player, to understand the tactics, and then get a good understanding of the game.
Right. Then so for okay, then I also understand that a lot of players play floorball there, but how about, do they also play other sports?
Yeah, and I think that is also one key part in Sweden, that most of the players play. In Sweden, most of the players play football in the summer, because we have summer season, and then it's mostly football. And during winter season, most of them play floorball or ice hockey. And I think that playing different sports, you can take like small details with you to the other sport. So for say that you are very good at scanning in football, if you are playing in the Kevin De Bruyne position, I think you can adapt that to floorball. So if you are a center basically, and then you receive the ball and you are good at scanning, you can use that in floorball because it's a smaller court. I think it would be easier for you as a player. But yeah, most of the till you are about 16, I would say, most of the players play two sports. They play one in the summer and then one in the winter.
Yeah. Then when you reach 16, then that's probably where they start to focus on.
Yeah, exactly.
So to choose what sport they would like.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that is one. And if you look into what like other athletes say, especially in Sweden, like the big athletes. I mean, if you look at some of our best ice hockey players, most of them played both floorball and ice hockey, so that they can develop different kind of techniques in different kind of sport. And most of them played football in the summer. And basically, I think it's come down to compete in a sense. I would say to be able to compete against different opponents in different sports. And then I think it's like it's in your subconsciousness. I would say you like maybe you can point out, okay, that particular skill I got from football, but in the back of your mind I think you can.
It comes naturally to you.
Yeah, exactly, it comes natural to you if you play like different sports.
Then on the issue on a question on what would be a good age to get used to start on weight training, so gym weights, that kind of thing. So
what age you mean?
Yeah, what would be a nice age to get them started? Because like you said, sometimes they go to gym and then sometimes they'll so what's a good age for them to start this kind of weight training, and what kind of exercises would be beneficial for them?
I would say like whole body exercise is good from the age of 12, 13. Yeah, I would say. But that is also like you need to have it at a good level. I don't think they should be in the gym like 7 days a week, but maybe they can start with one, maybe two training sessions a week, like to get just the basic. They don't need to focus a lot on like different muscle groups and all that, but just get the basic training. Okay, this is how you train, and it doesn't have to be that hard. It can just be that, okay, you get a sense of, okay, this is how you train, so that you can take that with you. So the leap from going to, say that you are 16 and you decide, okay, now I'm gonna start to like build my muscles. I think the leap there is bigger if you're new to the gym than if you had like a small introduction from the age of 12, 13, and then you're 16. So I think like you have to start, and that you don't need to go to the gym to do that. You can just do it at home. You can do push-ups, you can do sit-ups, but just basically train so that your body can develop more muscles, because you will get an advantage of that when you're older. So basically I would say 12 to 13 years old would start to think about physical training, start to think about physical training to improve your muscle strength.
And then when you reach about the older age, then you start getting all the weights, weightlifting, squatting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay, then actually this is actually very useful. Then this chat has been very useful. So I think this is really good for now. Yeah. So what is one thing? Okay, I did ask this question just now, so it's kind of like what is the one thing that you think we can do better? Okay, what is the one thing that you think coaches in Singapore can try to incorporate? That's from a coaching point of view.
Yeah, tough question again. I need to think about that.
So in terms of coaching,
Because I want to give a good answer. I just wanna I just don't want to come up with something. I want to give a good answer.
Yeah. Because there may be there may be different angles to this question. So, and I mean, for the sake of brevity, yeah. So how do you think we can level up our coaches?
Yeah, I would say that one thing, like in particular, that you can do as like right now
Yeah.
is to get coaches to come to Europe, and
But how? But going to Europe is okay because if you want to get players and coaches to go to Europe, cost and time is definitely a very big factor.
But I mean, maybe in that sense you don't need to come to Europe in that sense. But maybe I think to start creating channels, different channels where you can discuss things with the European coaches. I mean, the internet, and you have the internet now, so you can like basically speak with anyone anywhere on the planet. So I would say that basically, say that a coach in Singapore had 1 week, 1 day a week or one evening a week, like 1 hour, where they can just ask questions to a coach in Europe, and be humble in that sense. And especially the European coach also needs to be humble at where the Singaporean coach is at. So I think that is one key part that you need to develop, and I think that is great with us being here, is that we are open to that, and we are open to help, and we want to help. So I think that I would be open to having like, I mean, 1 hour a week for me it's nothing. So I mean, if a coach from Singapore would like to sit in discussion room on the internet 1 hour a week, I mean, that wouldn't be a problem for me, and they could just during the week they can, okay, I want to ask this question, I want to ask this question, I want to ask this, and then if I know that this is gonna happen, I can get like some small clips from We Train or games we play or something like that, and I can show them and discuss. So basically, like, help them to educate their coaches. I think that is one key part, and I also said that I think it would be good to get the federations in not all of Europe, but some of the federations to like get the leagues to be so you can watch more floorball, I would say. So
yes.
Maybe do something for Singapore so you can watch the Swedish league, but not at a full price, so it becomes more accessible to you. So you can watch like the best players play. YouTube is also great for that. But I mean, it's different if you can see a whole game and see how they move and all of that. But basically, I think to get a relationship with a European coach or a European player or something like that, I mean, in Falun, I would say that if some coach contacted us in Falun and asked, okay, can we have like 1 hour a week, 1 hour sessions a week for 10 weeks? For those weeks, I would say that I could probably get like 5 players to join. So I could say that I would have 1 hour a week. I could just tell one player in the Fallen's men's team, okay, can you join this time? So they can ask you questions about what do you think in that situation? What do you think about developing youngsters? What do you think about this and this and this? That wouldn't be a problem. So I think that is one key part that you can like easily work on and create. And that I think it's great that we are here, like me from Falun, and we have also coaches from Australia, and we have the guys from Pixbo. So I think that is really great. So that is one, and it doesn't have to cost money.
And I mean, it's good that we see you guys come down like this July, and it's also good that the players actually do get to see you. But other than this, are there coaching clinics that happen around with your team and you, or
if we develop coaches? You mean?
During your stay in Singapore, have they asked you to go to do coaching clinics?
Here? No. We have been to the SK Open Summer Camp. And then we have had a coaching clinic with the Australians that are here.
Yeah.
So we have like different, but I mean we could develop that a lot more. I think that we could have like different educations for coaching, like when we basically have them in a room and then we could show something on a PowerPoint or something like that, and they can just ask questions in a more calm environment.
Yes.
So I think that would be one great thing to take to the next year if we come down
I
here
agree.
next year. I
Yeah.
would say that is one like key thing, that's so you can sign up to maybe an hour with the Pixbo guys or an hour with me to discuss and basically to like get different subjects. So maybe you can sign up to one each day. So on the Thursday you go to listen to me to talk about, okay, this is how we create good defenses, and then the next day you can go to another session and you listen to Felix Lamver from Pixbo talking about how you create man advantages in the offensive end.
Yeah.
So basically do different subjects for different days. So and to get coaches to come to them is one big thing, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that would be very nice. Moving to next, maybe you could pitch it to the.
Yeah.
So that is great, and actually, thanks for your time. So actually, this today is very good.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thank you as well. It was very fun.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.